In this episode of Pop Culture Weekly, it's all about Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore. Let's go!
Welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon from iHeartRadio. Your pop culture news, views, reviews, and celebrity interviews on all the movies, TV, music, and pop culture you crave weekly. Here's Kyle McMahon.
Nah. What's up? It's Kyle McMahon, and this is Pop Culture Weekly, and I am so glad that you are here joining me for this Fantastic Beasts celebration. Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore comes out today, and I'm so excited for you to see it. You might have seen my little TikTok mini review. I went to New York to see the premiere and loved it. Now, obviously, you know I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I'm a huge Fantastic Beasts fan. So, most likely I was going to love it, but I would also be honest if it was terrible. And not only was it not terrible, it was freaking amazing. So I will say, and I said this in my TikTok for those of you that watch that, which is at Kyle2U if you want to follow me on TikTok. But I said in my TikTok review that, a lot of people, mostly critics, complained that the second Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, was not enough action and too much exposition and too slow and boring. But you will see, once you see Fantastic Beasts 3, The Secrets of Dumbledore, that exposition was needed to forward this franchise, at least in the movie universe. So it really added a lot, seeing that exposition in Crimes of Grindelwald really added a lot of necessary information for The Secrets of Dumbledore. So for the other critics, my opinions oftentimes tend to disagree with some of, and sometimes many of, the critics. And for critics that may be listening to this, can you just watch it and give it a fair shake? Because when you put the two together, it makes so much more sense, and I love it. I will say that obviously this franchise has taken a turn to focus on the relationship between Grindelwald and Dumbledore. It was talked about in the books, and it's really cool as a Potterhead, Hufflepuff forever, FYI, as a Potterhead to watch this backstory unfold. It makes the wizarding world so much more rich and full that we get to see these other stories come to life right before our eyes. You know what I mean? I love Newt Scamander. I love Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander. I love his Fantastic Beasts. I love Dan Folger, who, of course, is Jacob Kowalski, and I'm talking with him today on this episode of Pop Culture Weekly. And Ezra Miller as Credence is excellent. Jude Law as Professor Dumbledore is amazing. I mean, I love these characters, so I am loving the fact that we're seeing this play out on screen. And I hope this just means more Wizarding World spin-offs or, prequels or backstories or whatever you want to call them. In my mind, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter could be a lot like Star Wars, where, you have kind of like the main franchise, which for us would be those 8 kind of core movies telling Harry Potter's story. But then there's all these other spin-offs that could happen with the Marauders and the Aurors. And, there's just so many tales that you could tell, like of Beetle the Bard. Isn't that what it's called? Tales of Beetle the Bard, I think. Little inside joke if you're a Potterhead like myself. But I love it, and I think, just like Rogue One and The Mandalorian and stuff like that, where it's expanding the Star Wars universe, there is so much rich things that we could dive into adjacent to Harry Potter in the Wizarding World universe. So, and I love that. So one of the cool things that I love about being a Potterhead is the merch that comes with it. Jody Revenson, who you may know, especially if you're a Potterhead. She's an author who has written so many cool books about or having to do with the wizarding world that, I mean, she's like an encyclopedia on her own of wizarding world knowledge. Her latest book is called Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore Movie Magic. And I really, really, really love this book. You are probably familiar with the other Harry Potter movie magic books. They are incredible to add to your collection, and I have the links in the show notes for you to buy them if you haven't yet. But she has done an amazing job with the wizarding world in general. She did the Vault series, the Character Vault, the Artifact Vault, the Creature Vault. She did the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them magical movie handbook, the Crimes of Grindelwald movie magic book, and now, of course, upcoming, she's doing the art and making of Hogwarts Legacy, the art and making of Hogwarts Legacy, which is bound to be a huge game that I can't wait for it to come out. But in any event, her latest book is Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore Movie Magic. And it is just one of those, that you need for your shelf. It's got awesome info in there. So I talk with her about the process of writing these books, and as being a fan, how cool it is. So let's start out with Jody Revenson. She is so much fun, and I love speaking with her, and I can't wait to talk to her again for her next book. So in the meantime, here she is, Ravenclaw, Jody Revenson. I am here with an amazing author, and I can't wait to speak to her. Thank you for joining me, Jody Revenson. I really appreciate it.
Great being here.
And we're going to talk about your brand new book, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore Movie Magic. However, I got to talk to you about some other stuff first, because you have such a great catalog of books that I'm such a Harry Potter nerd, and so I just can't wait to talk to you. So let's jump in with, first of all, how did you get into this? What kind of author do you call yourself when it comes to these books?
These are licensed branded properties, and there seems to be, I always call it a little suzerainty, a little kingdom, because all the writers have their little kingdoms. There's writers who do Batman and Marvel and, the different franchises. I was very, very lucky to land in the wizarding world.
Was that something that you went for? Like, you're like, you know what? I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Let me jump into that.
Yes. I wouldn't. I met up with a client, and they had gotten a publishing plan for it. And we were talking, and they said, "Hey, would you like to write these?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Yes. Why do you need, they always, when they send me emails saying, would you like to write this book? I always say, why do you ask it to me in a question?
Right.
Why don't you just say, hey, writing this book? Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I was a fan anyway.
Right.
I was a fan before it, so that helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, being able to be in this world and to be able to learn how they do all the magic that they do.
Yeah, it really is incredible. And how do you, I get that they're licensed and branded. What do you call them? Like, they're kind of behind the scenes books, but then they're also making of. Okay. All right.
Making of books as an overall title for it, sort of thing. Yeah. But I work on different series. I write for different age levels. So within that, there's also then what you're trying to write for the fan, how you want to tell the story. I always say, it's nonfiction, but you're still telling a story. You still have to find a story to tell within it. And that's what makes it fun and challenging, to do this and be given the parameters. This is for 10-year-olds. This is for 50-year-olds. This is for kids for all ages. This is about one particular topic. This is about everything, So especially when you're doing the making of a film before it even comes out, it's the first time you're seeing this thing. You really want to make sure that you're hitting what you know the fans are going to love. And since I'm a fan, I hope I'm doing a service by picking the things that I like, things that are cool, things that you just go, wow, it's brilliant, as Harry would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do an incredible job. As I said, I'm a bit of a super fan, and I the work that you have done from, the Creature Vault and the Artifact, all the different kind of topics, subtopics, if you will, behind the films and books I just eat it up. I'm just always like, I can't wait for another one. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I mean, I'm glad. That's what we want, and I always try to find something new, even if I'm writing about a topic that might have been written before. Creatures I've done many times.
Right.
But it's always like, all right, what else is out there? What haven't I said? What haven't I said in a very long time? Because, fortunately with this wonderful online world, then you start seeing interviews after the film comes out where they can release a lot more information.
Yeah.
So that's my challenge. And my goal is always to put in new information that, because there's 8 films. Fortunately, there's 3 Fantastic Beasts films. I did Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I've done other stuff that I can't even talk about yet. So it's sort of looking at the whole world and saying, well, what haven't I talked about? What do I think is going to be cool to talk about?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you also have series within these, like the movie magic series. I look forward for each film I look forward to the movie magic book coming out, because I know the topic that I'm getting. I don't know the content yet. You know what I'm saying? And they're really exciting to dive in, and it's magic. It's movie magic.
Well, first, the movie magic series is definitely the first you get in the behind the scenes books. Definitely. Because then we do want to talk about what's going on? How did they do this? Who is this new character? New characters, new creatures, new locations, and then as time goes on, you can work into more specific topics, just talking about the creatures, or just talking about the dark magic or something,
Yeah.
So for that, definitely I want to be able to give, I don't want to say a broad overview, because that sounds like I'm being, we can be vague about it. It's really just trying to find out what's really going to tell the story of how this film, this particular one, was made. Because the people who work on these, the crews who work on these, production designer Stuart Craig, the different costume designers and set decorators, they work together to create, I want to say themes. I don't know if they even realize it, but they approach it. They all gather together and talk about what's the approach to this? What do we want to say with this? Which I think is different than a lot of other, I don't know if, to speak to other movie franchises, but in just general movie making, is you work on it, you want to tell the best story, but these are people that have been working in this world. So they want to make sure that they're bringing a fresh approach to it. They really want to make sure that they're telling their story the right way. So I love finding out all this stuff about, not just the special effects, but there's stuff in the corners, all the stuff that Mira Foramina, best name to be in the wizarding world, and Eduardo Lima do with the graphics, but they also do jewelry, and if we get into the specifics, there's, for example, the Great Wizarding Express train. They made flyers, and they made a magazine. I don't think you ever see it on the train, really. Look for it now. But they fill the world. They make sure that this is a real world that's going on. Nothing is too small that it shouldn't be given attention to by, the costumers, the set decorators. Sorry, I'm a geek too. I'm a nerd too on this.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people throw around the word world building, but the entire crew does an incredible job. I mean, I'm a huge Marvel Studios fan, and obviously there's a ton of world building there. But as you say, the level of detail into things that a lot of people wouldn't think about doing the things that are so intricate and detailed in this wizarding world. And it's a testament to all of the talent that, that makes this happen, including yourself, by the way.
Well, they're far more talented than I am. But I think that's also why you like watching the films over and over again. You can watch them endlessly, even when you know exactly what's going to happen, is because there's that corner you really kind of hadn't looked at before. And wait a minute, the first time I saw the sign for the leaky cauldron transform from this blank thing into the cauldron, I don't think I saw it the first time. I don't think I saw it the second time. But then the third time I was like, wait a minute, how did I miss that? There's way too much to take in. Yeah, they do build the world. They make a really realistic place that we really can believe is right down the street.
Right.
That's the great thing too, is that you really do believe that the possibilities.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. And so for your latest book, Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore Movie Magic. When did you start working on it?
I start for the movie magic books. I actually start about a year ahead of time. As soon as I can, which and it's not only a year ahead of time, it's then I only have about 3 months to actually write the book. So I'm way ahead of time because it takes a long time to print these things and collect the images and the layout and make all of that. But I get a copy of the script or I find out about it. And then I get all sorts of interviews with everyone from the person in charge of stunts, the person in charge of painting the backdrop sometimes. Fantastic Beasts 2, I think they had a great interview with the guy who selected all the cars in the background, which was actually fascinating. So I read all these interviews, and of course with the actors and producers, director, David Yates and everything. And then I find out that the word count is so little compared to what I want to write about it. I write a draft, and then the editor says, now cut it down by like half, and then half again, because it's too, because there's so much to write about.
Right.
But then it's trying to figure out what's, and like I said, telling the story, putting it together, and working with what I have, because honestly, and I'm sure the audience is aware of it, special effects take a long time to do, the visual effects. So sometimes things are not finished by the time I have to deliver the manuscript. So hopefully, I haven't gotten complaints yet. Like, what are you talking about? But it's, that's really the only challenging thing, is that I'm also waiting to see some stuff going, wait, we don't have a finished version of this?
Right.
I want to see it.
Yeah. And I will tell you, as a fan of, the franchise and your books, that I would not have known that had you not said that. So kudos to you on that.
I know, I'm like giving away. That's the size. Sorry, babe. That's the secret of the industry. It takes a long time to do a movie. I mean, we know that sometimes they're doing stuff up until the last minute, even after the premiere. So that's why I want to make sure that what I'm going to write about is going to be on the film, on the screen when you go to the movie. Yeah. Because a lot of times when I go see the film for the first time, I'm sitting there and I'll go, oh, that's what it looks like. Yeah. And I'm usually with my niece who goes, quiet. Yeah. And then there's also me going, wait, oh, you're gonna love this, and she's like, because I'm so excited about, because I know what's gonna happen next, or I think I know what's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome.
But it is, we get costumes, and again, speaking with all the production crew who are doing this, they do know what they're doing. They have laid it all out. They have conceived it, so they can talk about what their inspirations were, what their research was for it, how things changed. There's one creature, the Chelan, that's in Fantastic Beasts 3, as we called it, for a very long time, until we knew that we didn't even know the title.
Right.
My editor and I referred to it as Fantastic Beasts 3. This is really great. You're going to love this. I'm so happy. I love it. Which we thought should be the title. But they did 300 pieces of concept art before they finalized this creature. So they know what they want, and then they're like, well, what about this? They judge it, they tweak it, and then they make sure that it works. And then we see them on the screen and go, I want one.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're in this process, are you like fangirling the whole time, or are you able to be like, all right, this is also work, I got to concentrate and put my excitement to the side, or is it kind of both?
It's a little bit of both, of course, but that's just me. I mean, it's work. So it's definitely making sure. I mean, I have deadlines. I have word counts. I have to, like I said, I have to make sure that I'm telling the best story with it. I'm crafting this. But then, definitely there are moments when you're just like, oh, that's so great. Yeah, no, don't make this. Because the fangirl part can come in the fact that, again, I'm so blessed to be able to know what's going on before other people. And I hardly know anything compared to a lot of other people, but it's seeing how the characters are growing and changing and what's going on in the action. So yeah, I mean, honestly, sometimes at the end of the day, when I turn off the computer, I'm like, I cannot believe I do this for a living. I cannot complain. Oh my gosh, I've got to read all these interviews with Eddie Redmayne.
Right.
So
it's funny, there also must be a part of kind of like a lonely island in the fact that I know Servant on Apple TV Plus, M. Night Shyamalan, is one of my favorite series ever. And Apple is kind enough to send me the screeners, but I'll get like 6 episodes like 2 months before it comes out. And then I can't talk to anybody about it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like one of my favorite shows ever. But I'm like, I just have to wait 2 more months. And,
that's the challenge. Yeah, I've been doing this for a very long time. I also worked at Walt Disney Publishing, and I've worked for other franchises too. And if you know stuff, that's the trick of the trade, is that you keep the secrets. When I worked on Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, that was the line, the ad line was keep the secrets. And I was like, yes. And I don't even know half the stuff actually, because they wouldn't even tell me.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. And then I have to remember, like, so, if I watched this chunk of 6 episodes and then 2 months later, episode 1 premieres, I'm like, when I start to talk to people about it, I'm like, okay, wait, no, I can't, that's on episode 2. I can't. So I have to, like, in my mind be like, where it's funny because, it's like, I want to share my excitement, but I can't.
Yes. You have to. Unfortunately, it's just, again, what goes on is it, and I certainly would not be getting the work if I gave out the secrets.
Absolutely.
And, maybe when I retire and I'll write the book of like all this stuff I've been dying to tell you, all the images that I have.
Right.
Things that I can't talk about, but also it's a question about, and you may feel this too in knowing this, you kind of feel protective about the property.
Absolutely.
You don't want to. There's things where I've in this series and other books that I've written where someone would say something that wasn't so great and you want to like not expose it. You don't want to say that. Don't make them look bad. There's stories that I know that I'm like, it's not terrible. It's not evil. This doesn't make them look really good. I don't need it.
Yep.
So you want to, and I want to make sure that I'm, not saying something out of place, saying something that shouldn't be said. And, I definitely make sure that's the professional side.
Right. Yeah, you make sure you're not Tom.
After this, you and I will. No.
Yeah. You want to make sure you're not Tom Hollanding it, as I call it. Where
that's unfortunately he'd love that. That's a great way of putting it, definitely. Or Mark Ruffalo.
Right.
I'm a big Marvel fan too, so I know about this keeping the secrets and stuff. So,
yeah, and with the protective part, it's interesting that you say that because there's a recent Marvel Studios series that came out that I saw the first few episodes. I think it was the first 4, and I did a review on, and I saw people on Twitter and Reddit and stuff like, well, this is dumb, blah 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 blah, and I want to say, just wait,
that's
but
the thing.
I can't.
I'm working on this. I'm looking online, and of course, and there's a lot of sites, and it's wonderful to have fan sites that are talking about what's going to happen in the 3rd movie of Fantastic Beasts. What does this image mean? What is this stuff? And I read through them and I go, yes, no.
Yeah.
What are they thinking? Oh my God, they knew that. And you do want to sort of say, let them know what they've scored. But you can't.
Right.
Right.
And that protective piece comes in when, like I said, I saw specifically somebody saying they were calling out something that they thought was dumb in the first episode. And I'm like, but it makes sense. 2 episodes later, stop trashing it, And
you don't know.
Exactly. And I guess that's where the protective part comes in because I don't want them to give up on the series because they think it's, this is dumb and where I know the payoff comes later, but obviously I can't say that. But that's me like being like protective of the franchise and the story,
Definitely. And with Fantastic Beasts, we know, honestly, because it's out there in the sphere, that there have been issues behind these films.
Mm-hmm.
There's issues behind a lot of films.
Of course.
So it's then making sure that you want to focus on the story and the characters and the adventures. And that's why, when I read it, when I'm working, and I'm like, and I'd say I'm working on the third Fantastic Beasts movies, making a book, and they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, oh, no. You're going to love it. It's funny. Yeah. It's, I don't know what you know of it at this point, but it's unique. It's a heist movie. It's a mystery. It's spectacular. It's incredible effects. They keep trying to top themselves, and I think they do top themselves with the wand duels and everything. So that's too, being enthusiastic about something. I'll be honest about something. But this one I had to say, no. This one is wonderful. It's wonderful movie making.
Yeah. Yeah. I missed the premiere last week, I believe. I think it was last week in New York, but I'm going this coming Tuesday. I'll be seeing it in New York. And
need a +1.
I am so excited to see it. Are you in New York?
Yeah, I'm in New York, and I'm not going to be able to see it until the 15th, or I don't get to see it before it premieres.
Really?
I know. Could you please talk to Warner?
Yeah, Brothers? Warner, come on.
That's how I feel. Because my work is done on it. Let's say, so. That's nice, but so if you have an extra seat,
geez, that's crazy.
But that's the thing, is because I can't wait to see what the Chelan looks like on screen, in the Wyvern, and the creatures, and what happens in Germany, and what happened in the train. I read all about it, but seeing things up on the screen is so different.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine for you to get all of this information and talk with all of, production and talent and literally everybody that goes into the movie magic.
I hope so, yeah.
And then like the excitement that you must have for like, okay, I'm going to see it on the 15th. And then like, do you get nervous? Like, are you?
Oh, I do to a point. I mean, I'm very excited to see how the whole thing came together. I'm nervous that I think the thing that I'm most nervous about is if I've missed being able to write about something that I really was like, oh, that should have been in the book. But the effect wasn't done at that point, or, they, like I said, they tweak these things, characters, the actors do some improv. So I don't know what they've changed line-wise or something, and so I'm sort of like, I hope that I'm telling the best story with what I had to work with.
Right. Absolutely. And
I'm not nervous. They know what they're doing.
Right. Do you, as you kind of see this come alive, are you like in your mind, are you like kind of counting down like, okay, so as far as it was when at deadline for you, this is happening right here. This is or are you able to kind of turn that off a little and just enjoy it?
No, not able to. I'm not able to turn it off completely, because I do know, like, I know what's coming up. I know it's coming up, or is this going to happen now, or how did they do this? Did they do all of it? Did they do, and which we'll get to see deleted stuff on the DVD, of course. It's well, that's the challenge, like you say, is trying to separate the fangirl and the professional when I'm writing it. Same thing, fangirl and industry related person with watching it is, I know how some things are done. So I don't want to say anything. Yeah. And then of course I haven't seen it realized and everything, so it's, that's why I have to watch these things over and over and over for the work.
Yeah, exactly. For the work, strictly.
Again, during the middle of the day, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to watch Goblet of Fire. Gotta look up all this stuff. So it's, of course, listening to the music when I'm writing, very inspirational.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a lot of fun. I have to be honest with that. It is very cool.
It's, there really isn't many people. I mean, it's got to be a fraction or a small percent of people that get to enjoy what they do for work.
Sadly, Definitely. Well, that's again the thing that I definitely, that was sort of one of the themes in one of the books that I worked on about one of the films, because it was like just everybody's having such a good time, that they really enjoy what they're doing. Yeah, I really enjoy what I'm doing. Who wouldn't in the Wizarding world? I mean, as much as I'm like, oh, Star Wars I love, and Marvel I love, and all this stuff, I'm like, but wait, I got Harry Potter. So yeah, there aren't a lot of people who actually write these books. We are sort of a little handful, and a lot of us know each other, and I think we all feel very lucky that we're able to do this, because it's the Wizarding world. I do not get discounts on wands. I have to pay for the theme parks, unfortunately, but you do, you feel definitely in that world. You feel a part. You are a small part of that world, let's say.
Yeah.
Which is very neat.
Well, and I would say, and you may not say it, but I will say, I think it's a very large part of the world, because I go and look at my library. And, I set up an office with all these Billy bookshelves, which I'm obsessed with, from IKEA. And
I've got them all behind me.
Yeah, they're amazing. And, and so I have like my Harry Potter. Well, it was one Billy bookcase, and now it's like 3. But and I have more now of the not the title, the
franchise, my suzerainty of books.
Yeah, the like
kingdom
adjacent, like not the actual Harry Potter books, but like the movie magic,
the
and
making of,
the making of
the specific topics.
Exactly. So I have
and spells and dark arts and
absolutely. I have more of those than I do of the original books. So for me, it's a huge, and I think for so many of us, it's a huge part of the whole experience. It wouldn't be as rich of an experience, in my opinion, or at least for me, if I didn't have these books that help flesh out the secrets and the movie magic and the concept art and all that stuff. It makes it bigger for me. Yeah.
Well, I have to give a lot of kudos to my publisher, Insight Editions.
I love Insight Editions, because
it is the ephemera. You can hold the U-Ball invitation. You can read the Marauders map. You can, that's a really big part of it. The designers there are amazing and do books that you really feel like, would be on the shelves at the library kind of thing. So it's evoking that. To me, again, it's trying to evoke as much of the experience of watching the films or reading the books when you're reading one of the making of books. Even though we're talking about technical stuff, it's still to make sure that it's related. It's not just this nonfiction tome. That's just, this is how they did this. And this is, it's talking about, it's presenting it magically as well. They are, I'm, again, very lucky to be able to work with them on these.
Yeah. I love Insight, they're just the quality, not just of the authors like yourself, but of the book itself makes you want to collect it and display it on your shelf. Yes.
Yeah. They are really, they think it through. The covers, the material for the covers, again, want to make it part of the experience. And that's what's, I definitely have to say that is what great of them. They work on a lot of franchises, but they make sure their books match the franchise, not like, you can say I can recognize an Insight Editions book, but it's really because it's doing service to whatever the book is about.
Absolutely.
So very lucky there. They've never taken any of the title suggestions that I've given them. They're very creative people there, and they'll say, the book, and this is the title of it. I'm like, well, what about this? And like, no, we like this. Okay.
But you're like Jody, and the never-ending behind-the-scenes edition just sounds so much catchier,
I would love that. Yeah. And it's just Providence. It's just hysterical. I always say her initials are JKR, mine are JCR. So I think, again, this was sort of like fated to be. But I also say I've written about 80 books now about the Wizarding world, and I still do not have a castle in Scotland. So, something wrong going on there. But no, and I just did another interview, and they said, can you keep writing these books? Is there more to write about? And I'm like, oh, yes. That's what's wonderful, too. it's not just the next movie that's coming out. It's because there's still so much to learn about these. And again, to what I like is sometimes the books that are just the real specific topics, because you can really deep dive into it and create its own unique thing.
Absolutely.
It makes it challenging, which is fun.
Yeah, and there's, it's such a rich, the wizarding world is such a rich world, as we discussed, that there's so much left to explore from this, kind of coming from this angle, that bring it on. I'll get another couple Billy bookshelves,
Well, wait till you see, the Fantastic Beasts 3, because there's so many new locations. There's so much more to the politics of it. I mean, they're really exploring deeper into the world that we ever thought we could go. And it's, again, now we've got American wizards, we've got British wizards, but we've also got it's in Germany. There's a lot going on with the International Confederation of Wizards, actually is a big part of it. Finding out that there's another wizarding train, mind blown.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they, like you say, it's world building. The world keeps getting bigger, which is,
exciting to me.
Great about it is, very, very exciting that it can just keep going, which is, also nice to know that there's more on the horizon, I think, too.
Absolutely.
That it's not just, okay, the end.
Absolutely. And what's funny is so when the books came out, I was of the age of, that's weird and that's for girls and blah, 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 blah. And look at me now. I'm like literally obsessed. I went to Universal to the Wizarding World in Florida and got my wand and, and I'm like, that was my first one, but I thought about that. I was like, you were making fun of this when you were a kid, and now, now you're like wearing a freaking, the sorting hat and have have replicas of stuff in your house. Like
I'm wearing my Ravenclaw socks.
There you go.
That's because I think what the great part of the world building of the characters in it, and we do find all these characters that there's someone relatable in there. These are, he's a hero, Harry's a hero. He's a very flawed hero. He's not that great a wizard for a long time. Thank goodness he has Hermione. Thank goodness he has Ron. But he also has Neville and Luna, who are very different from other wizards. To the twins, and then you see someone like Newt Scamander, who is... I
love Newt.
So unique in his character and what he's going through. And we're learning more the secrets of Dumbledore. We're learning more about it. And that's one of the great, you'll read in my book, a great interview with Jude Law, who talked about what, we met the man at the later part of his life when he had to deal with this. But now we're seeing what he's going through that got him there, that made him the person that he was, which is, we do have prequels and stuff. We don't usually have the entire life
right
in a prequel, that you get to. So it's fascinating to be able to, you connect these pieces. It's almost like a little puzzle that you're, wait, here's another piece that I can put in there. But it's also something with you'll learn a lot about why Dumbledore does what he does and feels what he feels, and the relationship between Newt and Theseus and what's going on with Credence. There's a lot of these that these people are going through, and we can relate to that.
Yeah,
we go through a lot too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that we have to battle Voldemort or anything. But some days you definitely feel like it.
That is the truth. Jody, thank you so much. You're an absolute delight. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with me about your brand new book, Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, Movie Magic, which you can pre-order on Amazon right now. Comes out April 15th.
Yes.
And so it is a must-have companion for any Wizarding World fan. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This has been great.
Awesome.
Again, brilliant, as Harry would say.
And please, your next piece, come on back on the show.
Oh, I'm working on a lot of stuff. You just let me know.
Cool. And so
got a lot of great stuff coming up. A book about the blueprints about Harry Potter.
Oh, cool.
All the blueprints behind the movies.
Okay.
Like I said, other stuff I can't talk about.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely. And
send me an owl.
Isn't Jody amazing? She's just literally an encyclopedia of knowledge of the wizarding world. And why wouldn't she be? Because, like, at this point, I feel like she's written more about the wizarding world than J.K. Rowling has. In fact, her two big New York Times bestsellers were Harry Potter Film Wizardry, which is a must-have book for any Harry Potter fan, and Harry Potter Page to Screen, which is another must-have Harry Potter Wizarding World book. Like, if you own no other Wizarding World related books, besides, of course, the Harry Potter books, get Harry Potter Film Wizardry and then get Harry Potter Page to Screen. The links to buy them are in the show notes. Well worth it. I mean, it's must-have for your collection. So, love talking with Jody. Can't wait to speak with her again. And thank you to Insight Editions for making that happen and for making incredible books. I love their books. They just do a great job over and over and over again and really make these books collectibles for the fans. They really, really do. So shout out to Insight Editions, and we'll have their link in the show notes as well. All right, now let's get into talking with Jacob Kowalski himself. And if for some reason you haven't seen any of the Harry Potter books, I mean, if you haven't seen any of the Fantastic Beasts movies, Dan is an extremely talented guy outside of, the wizarding world. He was, of course, in Balls of Fury, Good Luck Chuck. He's done voice acting for Kung Fu Panda and Horton Hears a Who. He is Luke on The Walking Dead. I mean, he's just an awesome guy. And he's a big theater guy, too, by the way, which I think is really cool. So let's, get right into it and talk to Dan about his character, Jacob Kowalski, who is, of course, really the lone star that's a muggle in the Wizarding World franchise. I would say the only muggle star in the Wizarding World. So here he is. It's the one and only Dan Folger.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time for doing this.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to talk to you. And actually, now that I think about it, I talked to you the other day for the offer. Now, today we're talking about Fantastic Beasts, which I'm a huge Wizarding World fan, and I love the brand new chapter in the franchise, The Secrets of Dumbledore. Tell me about what it's like to, first of all, just be in this Wizarding World.
Yeah, it's surreal, man. It's like, it's this global phenomenon, and I got to be in Hogwarts in this one,
right?
And yeah, that's when I really realized, like, whoa, we are in the Wizarding World right now. Because yeah, like I got two little girls, 10 and 6, and they're getting into the Harry Potter movies, and you see those first movies when they're in, the Great Hall, and they're getting the Sorting Hat and the different houses, and that reminds me when I was a kid, and the nostalgia of like going to sleepaway camp and Color War and all that, and so when I was sitting there at Hogwarts, it was just you get chills.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, it's still very old romantic Hollywood to me. It's like big sets and so it's real magic. That's what it is.
I love that. And you were talking about your girls. It's funny because when Harry Potter came out, the first book, and I guess the movies too, the first movies, I was at that age where I'm like, no, that's weird and nerdy, and I'm not going to read that. And now I'm like, I'm a Hufflepuff, and here's my wand, and it's like, it's so ridiculous that I've just fallen in love with this world because, you know, it's for me anyway, it is magical and fantastical, and there's this whole world built out that you really just escape into. And I love that, you know, you said it perfectly, that it's also got that old Hollywood magic of, you know, you're not shooting on, and this is nothing against the Mandalorian or anything, but, you know, that like 360 thing where your entire set, you know, for the whole season is that. So I love that it has all of these different elements, both in front of and behind the camera.
Yeah.
For you, oh, I'm sorry.
Those practical effects are that's some of the best stuff, you know.
Right. Oh yeah.
You reach like off on a bookshelf and you pull a book out and you expect it to just be blank, but it's like filled with some story, you know,
right.
that the prop department came up with. You're just surrounded by geniuses.
Yeah, for sure. And Jacob, I mean, what a great character. I absolutely love the character, and your portrayal of him is just perfect. Did you, starting out, you know, with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, did you have any idea of where the story was going to go? And the reason I ask that is because I would assume as an actor it could be helpful or influence your performance in some way if you kind of know where the arc is leading.
Yeah, I mean, I was told that we were, you know, signed on for 5 movies, and I was on the first movie, sat down. JK would sit down with us and give us a bit of a clue as to, you know, where our characters were headed. And she laid out this incredible story. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And then literally by the next, by, you know, Crimes of Grindelwald, everything had changed.
Right,
so,
of course.
Like, what the hell? So you know, certain things that she told me that were really helpful were that Jacob reminded her of Ron. And I was like, oh, that's great, because Ron gets to do everything. You know, he gets to be a clown. He gets to, you know, he gets the girl. He gets to play the dramatic parts, and he gets a full spectrum to do. So I was like, okay, this is going to be awesome. And then I assumed that Jacob was a Hufflepuff because he's a baker. And JK said, no, he's Gryffindor because he's a soldier. And I thought, so these were great little clues as to how to play him. And it makes a lot of sense when he's this, you know, he's just a muggle. He doesn't have magic, and he still takes the orders, and he runs in and tries to get the job done like a good soldier, you know. So God willing, Merlin willing, we were able to do some more movies after this. I think you're going to see the potential of a massive wizarding war, just like nothing that we've ever seen before, where Dumbledore finally confronts Grindelwald. And somewhere in there, hopefully I'm a soldier, you know, running through the magical explosions. And I can't wait for that, man. You know, that's what I hope that we get to finally do.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I'm you know, casting all sorts of spells to hope it happens.
Good, man.
So for you, when you know, a lot of the work that you've had done up until Fantastic Beasts was, you know, character study-ish, you know, Balls of Fury was, I loved Balls of Fury, by the way.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have done some work, you know, along those lines, and then you come and do this big, giant, you know, multi-billion-dollar franchise. Was that intimidating to you, for just because it's like 2 worlds away, you know? It seems to me anyway.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. Like I had my second daughter coming into the world, and I needed a miracle. And I was in a slump, you know, at that time. I really wasn't getting a lot of work. I was directing my own stuff, and I wished on a star on New Year's. I said, please, I need a miracle. And there's a lot of, cool franchises out there, some classy stuff going on out there. I would love to just be part of something. And I put that out into the world. Next thing I know, I like a month later, I got the audition for Fantastic Beasts. And I thought that it was a long shot. I was just happy to get the audition. And so after the whole rigmarole, and I finally, all the testing and all the, screen tests and everything, and they finally gave me the part, I'm still like pinching myself. Like I am very much like Jacob, walking into this magical world, just in awe of it. And it shows, Jacob is a fish out of water. And so, yeah, man, I mean, it's like, it's an absolute joy every time we get a new script, see what else I get to do. I had a blast on this last one. They gave me a lot to do. They gave me a wand.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a joy. I grew up on Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of like the franchise I had in the back of my mind when I was making that wish. But I'll tell you, when they handed me that wand, I was like, whoa, this is like I'm getting a lightsaber, man. I'm like, it was very special. And so I hope in the future episodes I get to actually, do more with the wand. That would be cool.
Yeah, I was rooting for you. I saw it in New York City with Warner Brothers, and I was, I'm like in my seat, and I'm trying to be, professional and not disturb other people, and I'm like inside, I'm like, whoa, it's so great. And I just love, for me, what Jacob represented was as a viewer stepping into this kind of crazy world, and in the Harry Potter movies, it was very much we're placed into this world and it already exists and that sort of thing. With Fantastic Beasts, it really is accessible to this kind of adult version of, this adulting part of the wizarding world, where for me, I was able to see what it's like to come into this through your eyes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think a lot of audiences relate to Jacob because I'm reacting how they would react in this situation.
Exactly.
Very much in awe. And then it's also fun to play as we go along, and he gets used to some of the magic that he plays maybe a little, more nonplussed with it. And which is why I'm hoping that in the next installments that maybe he starts to gain some confidence with the magic. Maybe for some reason, Dumbledore's got to give him some training, because like I always thought it would be cool if like Jacob and Queenie had a kid, and that kid is someone important, whether it's a bad guy or a good guy in the future, in the Potter, stories. I thought that would be interesting. And then you'd have all of these good and bad guys trying to control what happens to that kid, so that I would need some kind of defense training,
Yeah. Sounds like an HBO.
A boy could dream.
Sounds like an HBO Max series to me.
Hey, from your lips to Merlin's ears.
Dan, thank you. You are so awesome. You're a joy to speak to. I absolutely love the films, and this Secrets of Dumbledore is just, takes us to new worlds, literally, new places, not just in the franchise, but or in the in the movies, but in the franchise as a whole. And I just loved every single second of it, and you are a huge highlight for me and for fans all around the world. So thank you for giving that to us.
Thank you, man. It's my pleasure. Yeah, check out The Offer. That's coming out soon.
Love The Offer. I love The Offer.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm very proud of it. Proud of all this stuff. Yeah.
And then and you have grinding what's it called? Grinding Light. You have a film about the record industry.
Grinding Light. I love it.
What is it called?
That's what it should have been called. Spinning Gold.
Spinning Gold. There you go. Okay. This is why I don't do scripts. I can't remember things.
I like Grinding Light.
Sounds like a totally different movie.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's a cool one, man. That's about Casablanca Records and Neil Bogart, his rise to fame as a record producer. I play Buck Reingold, his right-hand man. Man, it was just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun making that movie. It takes place like this guy discovered Kiss. He discovered Parliament Funkadelic.
Wow. Donna Summer too, right?
Yeah, and then as they got into the disco era, Donna Summer, like all the major disco people, he collected them, and it was pretty impressive. And it's a great cast, great ensemble, a lot of great music, obviously. So hopefully that'll come out pretty soon. I think you'll dig it, man.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right up my alley, and I'll have the name right too. That's I love it. When do we know when that's coming out? Is that the fall or next year? Or?
I think it's coming out in the summer, but
in the summer.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll come back on the show and we'll talk all about that.
I will, and check out the Dan Folger 40 Experience podcast. I interview a lot of the cast from the movies, and so if you want more behind the scenes info,
absolutely, and that I'm sure is available wherever you get your podcasts or on the iHeartRadio app.
Yeah, hey, why not? Let's try it.
There you go. Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kyle.
We don't have any other outro music except for the little thing we just played and then my little singing. So there is the Dan Fogler, whatever it's called, outro music. So yes, Dan, you can use that on any interview you want if you choose, because that one's for you. All right. So there it is, our Fantastic Beasts special. Go see Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, out right now. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. My review is up. My written review is up on popcultureweekly.com. My TikTok 1-minute movie review is up on my TikTok at Kyle, the number 2, the letter U. Go watch that. Comment, hate comment, love comment, whatever you want. So we have one more interview, last but certainly not least. Kathleen Robertson. So Kathleen, besides being an incredible, badass, strong, beautiful woman, she was Kitty O'Neill in the Starz series Boss. She was Detective Hildy Mulligan in Murder in the First, and she was in Northern Rescue, and of course, Claire Arnold in Beverly Hills 90210. She switched a little bit from acting to screenwriting, and in 2015, she did the Writers Guild Showrunners Training Program. So pretty awesome, that she's just gone full head into this. She's working on a screenplay for a film called Little Bee, starring Julia Roberts. And we are talking about her brand new limited series, Swimming with Sharks, which is loosely based on the classic film Swimming with Sharks, about a, Hollywood agent and his assistant. So this series, which is available exclusively on the Roku Channel, stars Kiernan Shipka and Diane Kruger, kind of in similar roles to Kevin Spacey, who was in the original one. And the sexes have not only changed, but obviously the story has too. So this version of Swimming with the Sharks follows this female assistant who's, at the center of this big studio and kind of becomes a little bit obsessed with her mentor, played by Diane Kruger. Really, really great show. Very edge of your seat. There's some definite shockers in it. And, I'm just really happy to talk to Kathleen. She's a super talented person, extremely talented actress, and now obviously extremely talented writer. So let's get into my convo with Kathleen Robertson. Hey, Kathleen, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Excited to chat.
So this series, Swimming with Sharks, first of all, congratulations. It is an excellent series, very intriguing and thrilling, and I love it. So,
oh, thank you.
Of course, thank you. So tell me a little bit about how the idea came up. Obviously, it's I don't want to say loosely based on the film, but it kind of is. You tell me.
I was working on an idea. I wanted to write a show about a female CEO because there are so few of, there's so few of them. And I was sort of deep diving, researching, had like a file that was just called Female, and it was all just about, Sheryl Sandberg and all these different women, female CEOs. And I got a call from Lionsgate, and they said, "Hey, did you ever see the old '90s movie Swimming with Sharks with Kevin Spacey and Frank Whaley?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. I think everybody in our industry saw that film." And they said, "Oh, would you have any interest in revisiting that or doing something in that space?" And I initially passed on it and said, "No, I don't really think I'm the right person for that. I don't really know, what I would have to sort of say in that space." And then I went back to working on my other project, and I thought, wait a second, if there's a way that I can sort of meld this character of this female CEO into the world of that original sort of template of two women instead of two men, obviously, in Hollywood, I thought, oh, maybe there is something here. And so that was kind of the entry point. And if you've seen the original movie, this show has nothing to do with it. Right. I mean, totally, it's completely different. And it's really just the title and the fact that it's a mentor-mentee kind of relationship. And yeah, that was kind of the entry point.
Well, I actually love that you've kind of taken the title and the industry and the mentor-mentee thing and kind of twisted it on its head in a lot of ways, because and I'm trying to be spoiler free because I was not expecting the direction that it went in, which is always fun. I'm a huge fan of that. And further, I really loved how it did focus on two women for multiple reasons. One is because we need to see, in my opinion, more successful women represented on screen. And what I mean by that is in like CEO roles and stuff. It's so, lopsided.
It's so rare, yeah.
And so, more representation on screen is always awesome. The other thing I thought was interesting is that the character of Lou is sort of a super fan, I guess you could say, of the CEO, which was an interesting twist, in my opinion, and that's not spoilery, I don't think. But why did you decide to go in that direction for Lou?
I just thought it would be really cool. I mean, I just was like, yeah, no, she worships this woman. She's like into this woman. Like, I'm not interested in telling a story about a woman taking another woman down. I want to do something where it's like another woman basically worshiping and being like, hell yeah. Like, I want to be like of service to you. And like, help you kind of continue on this like insane ride that you're on. So, yeah, I just kind of thought it would be, again, like it just felt unexpected to me. And I felt like, oh, I haven't really seen that before. And I loved that idea of it being kind of, these two women who have both sort of had similar childhoods, both raised by single moms, both suffered trauma, both suffered abuse, dirt poor growing up. And now they're kind of like coming together and they sort of see something in one another where it's like, oh, you seem like on the surface you should be, nothing like me, but we're actually the same. And I think Joyce, with Diane Kruger's character, very much sees herself in Lou, and Lou, obviously is sort of, really sort of obsessive and in love with this woman. So yeah, I just felt like, I was like, oh, that feels weird and cool. And I haven't seen that before. I want to see that.
And it translated well, so I think you made the right call on that. What for, as you're writing and kind of brainstorming on a series like this, how do you? So I'm a huge fan of twists and turns. One of my favorite shows is The X-Files of all time, and then M. Night Shyamalan is one of my favorite, writer directors. As you're doing things like this in writing, how, like, do you get excited? Like, are you like, oh, this is going to be good if we turn it this way? Or are you like, does it just kind of come naturally? Or, tell me about that experience. I would be super excited, but I would spoiler it to everybody I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think for sure. Like, I definitely tend to do that when I'm working on stuff. Like, I definitely sort of will write something and then say, okay, that scene is being executed by my brain because that's what I've seen before. And I know that like the natural progression of this is to go there, but then I'll go, well, wait a minute, but what if it was like totally opposite of that? Like, what if it's like, not only does she walk into the room, but she does fill in the blank, I don't want to give spoilers, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that a lot of the stuff in the show where you're like, holy shit, where is this going? And why is it going there? Like, a lot of times I sort of would do that when I was writing it, where I'd be like, okay, well, this is going now where I, as the audience, know it's going to go. But what if it's the opposite of that? What about instead of it being this, it's this? Like the scene where, like the stuff where Joyce kind of goes downtown and she goes into like the homeless encampment. Like that seemed like, it's like, you don't have any idea where that's going. And as a writer, when I was like writing it, I was just like, oh no, she's going to go there. Like, and that's something she does. And it's something that she does to feel alive in this world where she doesn't feel alive. And it's a weird choice. And, I'm going to go for it. And certainly executives and people at first read the scripts and were like, wow, you're really going for it in all these different areas. But I mean, I feel like I know for me, like, I feel like I'm burnt. Like, I want to see stuff that feels punk rock and it's just like, I'm going there.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being sort of fed my kale salad and my side order of dressing. I want to feel something, and I want to be dropped into worlds that feel unlike my world. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the stuff I'm into.
I love it. Yeah. And me too. And it makes for extremely exciting television. And I would imagine as a writer that's exciting as a writer for you as well. Is it like, are you like, oh yeah, I did that. I made her go there. You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, totally. Like, I feel like it is really, that's the fun thing about being, I've been an actor my whole life and always been just stand on your marks and say the lines and behave and do what you're, and so this was for me, my first time as a showrunner. It's my first time, I wrote every episode. So 100%, like, I'm not going to lie. It was very fulfilling and incredible to sit at the monitor and watch Donald Sutherland say and do things like what he says. And, I was like, I love it. I was into it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you have been in Hollywood your entire life. You were a child, you started out as a child actor. How much of that comes through in Swimming with Sharks?
I mean, I think it's in there for sure. Like, I think that I moved. Yeah. I mean, I started acting at 10 in Canada. I'm Canadian. And then I moved to Los Angeles when I was 19. And my first big American job was Beverly Hills 90210, which was the biggest show in the world at the time. And I was sort of, this small town Canadian girl dropped into this insane world. And over the years have certainly worked with some of the, biggest, most iconic kind of creators and actors and directors, and have definitely lived this world and lived this life. I certainly have my 10,000 hours in this space. And so, yeah. I certainly along the way, hear stories, write something down. That's a little thing. I remember that. And a lot of it is personal. Oh,
sorry.
Did we freeze?
Yeah, I heard everything, but you froze.
Okay.
Picture-wise, I mean, which is fine. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't cutting you off because of
I think I'm done.
All right. What is next for you? What's your? I mean, obviously we're celebrating this project and all, but I always love to know what's what's on the horizon for you.
Well, I'm looking at my whiteboard as we're talking. Mm-hmm. What am I working on? So I'm writing a movie right now for Paramount, which is really cool. It's my first big studio movie that I've ever written. So that's been exciting.
Congrats.
I just sold a show that I'm stoked about, that I'm going to write and showrun, but also I'm going to be in it as well. So that's exciting.
Awesome.
I'm doing a show with Joe Berlinger, who is a great doc filmmaker. It's a scripted series, though it's not a doc series. We're doing that with Lionsgate. And I'm working on something that I'm developing that I'm going to direct. It's my first thing that I'm going to direct. So Jason Reitman is producing it. So that's exciting.
Wow.
So yeah, lots of stuff.
That's so cool. And I have to ask you personally, because and this is, totally random, but are you at your place? Because I love, in the background, you have this cool typewriter and a skull, and that is so freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah, I am at my place.
Yeah, okay.
I'm glad you like it. I was like, wait, what is it? It's so funny, like doing all these Zoom interviews when you're at your house, because it's like weird. You don't want people to really see your stuff.
Right,
it's
right.
Like, it's
and now here I am. Here I am pointing it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love it. I love the aesthetic. That's I'm into that kind of stuff, so it's I love it. But anyway,
you like weird stuff.
I do. I like weird stuff.
I do too. I like weird stuff too.
I do love weird stuff. Kathleen, thank you so much for speaking with me on iHeartRadio's Pop Culture Weekly. I love the show. Swimming with Sharks is out right now on the Roku Channel. And please, for your next project, come back on and let's talk about it.
I'd love to. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What did I tell you? Amazing, kick-ass woman and huge talent, and I just love talking with her. So I'll be back next week for some very exciting interviews as we just continue with this awesome, streak of awesome, cool, dope people that I love talking to that happen to be involved in some really, really cool movies, television series, limited series, and all kinds of other projects. Until then, Hufflepuff forever. I love you. See you next week. We out.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Hear all the latest at popcultureweekly.com.
Hufflepuff forever and ever. Hufflepuff, 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 Hufflepuff forever and ever. Hufflepuff, Hufflepuff, Hufflepuff.